we're not almost there.
Hey guys, welcome to the Massive Iron Channel. I'm Steve Shaw. In this video, we're going to look at the exercises I use to build muscle and strength. Before I get into that topic, if you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. The best topic ideas I turn into videos just like this. If you need coaching, I have 5 slots available. Please check out the link down below. All right, so let's dive into this. What I decided to do today was to build a chart to see what exercises I actually used over the last 38 years to build muscle, what exercises I relied on, and how many I actually used. And I found out that by looking at this chart, I used about 81 total exercises. 49 of them are found in the green areas, and 32 of them are found in the yellow areas. Now, the green areas are primary exercises. Those are my staples. I use those a lot of the time. The yellow exercises I use quite a bit, but I wouldn't consider them staples. So you can see each body part or each area has a different column. Chest, back, quads, and delts. These are the 4 major body part areas. And then I looked at the minor areas to see what I used: hamstrings, traps, triceps, biceps, calves, abs, forearms, and just some other exercises that I did. So let's dive into things a little bit. For chest, basically over the years, I relied a lot on dumbbell and barbell benching. You can see bench press, incline bench, dumbbell bench, and incline dumbbell bench. What I did for many, many years is that I would have a two workout setup. So the first workout I would do a bench press, and I would follow that with an incline dumbbell bench. And then the second workout, I would do incline bench and then follow that with a flat bench dumbbell. So I also I also did a lot of dips, especially the first 10 years of my lifting career, a lot of weighted dips. And lately, it's been a lot of dips and push-ups, supersets. This is something I work in a lot with my clients. I have them do dips and then a superset with push-ups. And over the years, I've really relied on the machine chest press. It's kind of a last exercise for me. I usually do these instead of doing an isolation exercise. Sometimes I'll work in an isolation exercise, but I prefer machine chest press. I've done cable crossovers over the years. Even though you can get a good chest feel, they're not a good progression exercise for me. Dumbbell flies tend to beat up my shoulders a little bit, so I don't overly rely on them. Pec deck I like, but it's not an exercise that I find myself compelled to do. I've done it plenty of times over the years. Now, the guillotine press, that's going to be an odd lift in here for many of you. The guillotine press, you do with your arms flared, and basically you're lowering the weight towards your Adam's apple. Sounds pretty scary, right? The name guillotine, chop off your head, that sort of thing. But what you do is I don't lower it to my Adam's apple. I lower it about 6 inches in front of my Adam's apple or above my Adam's apple. And what you do is you can get a pretty good chest stretch, or I could get a pretty good chest stretch on this exercise. In the couple of years I was training, after I had lost 100 pounds, and I was training to get my bench back up, I would do my benching, and then I would do 3, 4, or 5 sets of 10 volume on the guillotine press after my benching, just because I felt it was a little bit more chest centric. So those are the big movements I've done for chest. Yes, I did work in some decline work, not enough to really make the list. Now for back, you can see deadlifts and you can see pendlay rows and rack pulls at the top of the list. Now, some explanation here. For the first 20 years of my lifting career, and remember, it'll be 38 years this year, I did not do floor deadlifts, nor did I do pendlay rows or bent over rows. These were not exercises that were really a priority back in the day. And it's not something people really obsessed about back in the early days of bodybuilding magazines. So it's nothing I overly focused on. I did a lot of dumbbell rows and T-bar rows, and even in my first 5 years of lifting, 5-10 years of lifting, I did a lot of lat pull downs and weighted pull ups and seated cable rows. The rack pull is something I did for 20 years, but I did it more as a lower back exercise rather than a deadlift. I would pull below the knees and focus on working my lower back. So it wasn't as intense as it sounds. It was more of a lower back type exercise. Now, the last half of my lifting career, the last 18 years or so, I have really worked deadlifts and Pendley rows hard. They are probably two of my primary staples, more the last 15 years of my lifting career. I've also added in from time to time chest supported rows, machine rows, and when I'm at home at the home gym, inverted rows. They've all had their fair share of sets over the years, but not nearly as many as the other back exercises. Now for quads, I've pretty much had a tighter shot group: squats, leg presses, leg extensions, and some lunges. Now hack squats are in the green here, but obviously I trained at home for a lot of years, so I didn't have access to a hack squat machine. And in some gyms, the hack squat just didn't feel good, so I wasn't always doing them. So hack squats make the list, but they're probably the least used exercise in that group. And over the years, I've done pause squats and box squats and front squats and leverage squats and sissy squats and even box jumps. I've done a fair share of those, but I wouldn't call them primary staples. With box jumps, I did those a lot between the age of 46 and 50 as a beginning part of a superset with leg extensions. Front squats, I've did plenty of those over the years, but they're not a staple of mine. They don't feel good for me. The last two exercises on this list, leverage squats and sissy squats, I have both of those in my home gym now, and they were really, really good movements. I rely on those a lot these days, but the leverage squat is something new to me the last couple of years. Now for delts, take a closer look, and you're going to see the military press way down on this list. Now, don't panic. Don't panic. Don't have a heart attack. I've probably done less than 100 standing press sets, barbell sets over the years. Most of my stuff has been seated overheads, seated behind the neck presses, and seated dumbbell presses. These three movements have been my staples. Now, when the seated overhead dumbbell press got too heavy, I started to do the single arm standing because it's easier to get that dumbbell into position. Lately, I've been doing a lot more seated pin presses. I've always done laterals over the years, but I eventually evolved those into the bulldozer lateral, which is my variation. So those have been my main staples for delts. I've done upright rows, I've done high pulls, I've done bent over flies. Those I've all done plenty of over the years, but nowhere near any level where I would call them a staple or essential. So let's look at some minor body parts. Hamstrings, barbell Romanian deadlifts, and leg curls are the big two staples. Over the years, about 10 years ago, I started including dumbbell Romanian deadlifts, and I really like those enough to list those as a green exercise. Over the last 10 years, I've done some glute hams on the back extension. I have a back extension station in my home gym. I'm doing more and more of those the last 5 years. Single leg curls, I wouldn't call them a staple. I would occasionally do those. I've mainly stuck with, doing the conventional leg curl with both legs at the same time. Now, the wide stance good mornings, I played around with good mornings a lot. I really like the wide stance good morning. They're more of a hamstring-centric exercise for me. You can even elevate your heels a little bit on these wide stance good mornings. And I find by elevating my heels, you get even more hamstring action. For traps, pretty straightforward. Barbell shrugs are the primary variation. I've done a fair share of dumbbell shrugs over the years. And you'll see number 3, an odd, it might seem odd to you, just random static holds. What are those? Well, at the end of some RDL sets or end of some deadlift sets, or even at the end of shrugs, a lot of times I would just do a static hold of the barbell to get extra time under tension on those traps. So the traps would get a little bit fatigued during shrugs or deadlifts or RDLs or even Pendley rows, and I would do static holds just to get more time under tension on the traps. So those have been actually a pretty substantial staple for me the last 15 to 20 years. And then you also have things like Smith shrugs, which I've done some of them over the years. When traveling around and you're stuck at a Planet Fitness, and the behind the back shrugs, for those of you guys with big juicy testicles and you're always bumping your gonads, your nuts on the bar, you can try behind the neck shrugs. Put the bar behind you. Those can be an okay lift. You might like them more than I do. I haven't focused on them much because barbell shrugs just are my favorite. Now for arms, triceps, as I've aged, I used to do a lot of single arm stuff like single arm dumbbell extensions and French presses. But as I picked up girth and size, it became harder and harder to get that dumbbell into position. So things like a single arm overhead dumbbell extension, I started to use less and less the last 15 years. My main exercise is a skull destroyer, which is a combination exercise between skull crushers and a close grip bench. Cable tricep extensions I like a lot, one of my big staples, and close grip benches are a big staple. So the top 4 have really made up the meat and potatoes of my triceps work. I've also done occasionally single arm extensions and assisted machine press downs. I have that station at my gym right now. It's, it looks like almost like a dip, but you're seated and you're doing the tricep press downs. I do those now. My home gym, I need a lot of weight because the leverage is very leverage friendly, but that's becoming more and more of something I do these days. Now, biceps, really simple: dumbbell curls, barbell curls, pinwheel curls, and easy bar curls. A lot of dumbbell and barbell stuff. I would say around the year 2007 or 20 years into my training, I stopped really doing barbell curls. They just started to beat up my joints, and I relied on the other 3 movements. Occasionally over the years, I've done bent over cable curls. These are one of my favorite movements, but there's not a lot of stations where I can really do them. You bend over and you're doing a curl and you're curling it towards your chest like this, and you can get a really good biceps feel. Machine curls, there are some gyms that have pretty good machine curls that I would use as kind of a finisher. Now, the reverse grip lat pull down, is a really good exercise, and it's underrated. But you have to perform these bicep centric. We're not going to perform them like a chin up. We're going to perform them where we're going to drive our elbows down and really focus on a biceps contraction. It's a really good exercise. You can do it. You can do it right after lat pull downs. You can just switch your grip and get a really good bicep contraction pulling those suckers down. Calves, abs. I have pretty good natural calf size, so I've done a fair share of machine calf raises, seated and standing. I like the machines more than anything. The dumbbell raise, you can do at a home gym. You hold onto the rack with one hand, you hold a dumbbell in the other, and then you're going to do these unilaterally. So whatever hand is holding the dumbbell, you're going to push up with that same calf. Now, rocking calf raises are an odd variation. Not many people use these. I would hold a dumbbell, and they're mostly something I would do at home. I would hold a barbell in front of me, something I would do mainly at home. I would rock back and then push up on my calves. And I would do these for sets of 30, 40, 50, even 100. The rocking action just makes the calf raise with the barbell feel more manageable for me. So give those a try if you've never tried them before, never heard of them. All right, so for abs, mainly ab wheel rollouts and plank variations. Over the years, planks get kind of boring, so I've started to include plank variations where you can count the reps, like a shoulder tap plank, where you're in a plank position 1, 2, or you can do rolling planks where you can count the actual reps. Counting the reps is more enjoyable for me than counting the seconds. At my home gym, I had a leg extension station that was connected to my bench, so I do a lot of decline sit-ups. Over the years, if there's a decline bench station, I used to do quite a bit of decline sit-ups, so I put those as something that was a staple. And being an old school lifter, I've also done sit-ups as well, but I found them rather boring and haven't done them a lot the last 20 years. And also done my fair share of cable crunches. Forearms, not a lot of forearm action. The first 3 or 4 years of training, I did more forearms, mostly wrist curls. The reverse wrist curls, I messed around with those a little bit, but they don't have a really strong leverage position. They just feel kind of awkward to me. Lately, I've been doing a little bit of wrist roller stuff when I feel bored during my workouts, but I would consider those, right up there with wrist curls. I've done a fair share of wrist rollers over the last 5 years. And other exercises I occasionally worked in over the years: Zercher squats, back extensions, step ups I used to do occasionally before in a superset with leg extensions, captains of crush grippers, and sometimes sled pulls. So there you have it, guys. Those are the 81 exercises that I've used over the years to build muscle and strength. The 49 in green, though, are really, really the big staples. Probably 80% of the meat and potato, 80% of them were the meat and potatoes of my training. And then the stuff in the yellow, probably more like the last 20% of my gains. So, guys, hope this video has been of some help. If you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. If you made it this far in this video and have yet to subscribe to my channel, please do. I'd appreciate the support. So, guys, as always, thanks for watching. Have a great day.